This is China talking. I'm sending this one out there to everybody to hear the truth, and to hear the truth. Right now, I've been in jail for 24 years. Peer man abolished poverty, stating that the only thing I'm missing on road is the luxury of pussy. That's a load of bullshit. Yeah. Right now, I'm missing my freedom. I'm missing living life. I'm missing building a family. Yeah. I've been in there for years. Yeah. Where these Babylon have got me locked down as a Cat A prisoner. Yeah. On the book. People don't know what a Cat A prisoner is. We're the ones that travel around in vans with blue lights and helicopters. Yeah. It's been a saga from day one. Yeah. So you don't know what you got until you've lost it.
The voice you just heard was the voice of 44-year-old Nicholas Walters, known on the streets as China, currently incarcerated for the past 24 years for murder. This is his story. This is the story of Nicholas Walters, aka China. On Thursday the 4th of October 2001, a former Wolverhampton security guard named Eric Allen claimed that he pulled into the Q8 petrol station on Beaches Road in Perry Bar, Birmingham, just after 7 p.m. to buy some cigarettes and pay for his petrol. But he made what would end up being a crucial mistake that would lead to a chain of events that would lead to a fatality. Because Eric left the keys in his car, a green P-Reg Peugeot 406, whilst he went to go and pay. And whilst inside the petrol station, Eric saw his car being driven off. Eric claims that he then ran after the car, banging on the window whilst chasing it down the road. But it was too late. 3 young black men had driven off in his car. The driver of the now stolen car was then 22-year-old Nicholas Walters, aka China. The stolen green Peugeot was then driven at speed down King Standing Road towards Birmingham city centre, and it was seen a few times driving on the wrong side of the road. When the stolen car ran through a red light, it caught the attention of 45-year-old police officer Malcolm Walker, who was a traffic officer on a motorbike. And PC Malcolm Walker decided to follow the car as it was driving recklessly. Upon noticing that he was being followed by a police officer on a motorbike, China slowed down the car, allowing the police officer to pull up alongside him. But as PC Malcolm bent down to speak to China, who was driving the car, suddenly it shot forward and then reversed at the police officer. But PC Malcolm managed to move out the way and avoided being hit by the car. Shaken up, PC Malcolm radioed in that a car had just tried to ram him before realising that the driver was now in pursuit of him, possibly to try and ram him off the road again. In an effort to save himself, PC Walker then took off at speed along Aldridge Road in a bid to escape the car that was now coming at him. Eyewitnesses that had seen the commotion said that PC Malcolm Walker turned off Aldridge Road towards New Osket with the green Peugeot 406 in heavy pursuit of the officer on the motorbike. One eyewitness said the thief was driving like a maniac, ramming other cars as it tried to get away. Whilst another eyewitness, Maurice Thompson, said, "I really couldn't believe what happened next. The car was thrown into reverse and the driver tried to run the officer over. The car then followed the police officer at high speed. At around 7:20 p.m, PC Walker was chased on his motorcycle all the way down to the A34 Birchfield Road, where he was again rammed into and flung off his bike into a concrete bollard, which his body uprooted. suffering multiple injuries. The incident was witnessed by dozens of people who were waiting in a traffic jam. PC Malcolm Walker was rushed to hospital and resuscitated, but died shortly after reaching. Police were treating it as a hit-and-run murder and began an investigation to find out who the driver and the occupants of the car were and appealed for witnesses. The green Peugeot was eventually found burnt out on Uplands Road in Handsworth. 45-year-old PC Malcolm Walker, known as Mac to his closest friends, was married to his wife Helen Walker, and they had 4 children, Abby, Michelle, Charlotte and Sean, all aged between 11 and 20 at the time. PC Malcolm had joined the police force in 1980, and just over a decade later in 1991, he joined the force's vehicle crime unit, going on to become a top expert in car crime. 5 years later, in 1996, he was transferred to the traffic department of Sutton Coldfield Police Station. PC Malcolm's wife Helen Walker of Walsall Woods made an appeal to the public for information about the hit-and-run killer, saying, "My husband was mown down and left to die. Someone was driving that stolen car, and Mac tried to stop him before he injured, maimed or killed a member of the public. The pointless killing has robbed me of a best friend to grow old with, and my daughters, Abby, Michelle and Charlotte, of a father to walk them down the aisle. My son Sean won't have a dad to buy him his first pint on his 18th birthday." She then urged the hit-and-run driver to do the decent thing and give yourself up, adding that her children were finding it difficult to cope with the loss, saying that her husband was a great father, a good husband and great fun. The family received an outpouring of phone calls and condolences from members of the public, and the case blew up nationally. A fund was also set up days after the police officer's death by the West Midlands Police Federation, raising over £15,000. Tracing back the steps of the stolen car, police realised that it had been reported as stolen from the Q8 petrol station on Beaches Road in Perry Bar. Police began looking for 3 black men in their 20s who were seen at the petrol station at the time the car was stolen. 7 days after the killing, on Thursday the 11th of October 2001, police arrested 4 suspects. And 4 days later, 23-year-old Emmanuel Ebanks of Raleigh Close, Handsworth, was charged, accused of being the person that stole the green Peugeot 406 from the Q8 petrol station. His application for bail was denied and he was remanded in custody. 22-year-old Nicholas Walters of Lozells, Birmingham, known on the streets as China, was also arrested for murder, as he was the one who was driving the car that rammed into PC Malcolm Walker, as he was picked out in an identity parade by Eric Allen, the owner of the Peugeot 407 that was stolen from the Q8 petrol station. When arrested, China was found to have a 12-bore self-loading shotgun in his possession. It was later discovered that China had named his shotgun Pump Up, and he had brought it for £500 and was preparing to have it sawn down. He was charged with murder, robbery, theft of a car, dangerous driving, and 2 counts of firearm offences, including possession of a firearm, and held on remand. Whilst China was in prison, police were granted permission to carry out secret surveillance on him by taping his conversations with visitors. And during a recorded phone call between China and his girlfriend Lavinia Barnes, it was said that Lavinia spoke about her affections for a love rival, at which China told her, "Don't sleep with no other man or I will shoot him. I will kill him like I killed that copper." He was also recorded saying that the police had no evidence. The funeral of PC Malcolm Walker was held at 11 a.m. on Thursday the 29th of November 2001 at Lichfield Cathedral, and the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair, attended his funeral and wrote a letter of condolence to the family. The funeral cortege arrived at Sutton Coldfield Police Station, where PC Malcolm Walker worked. There, his colleagues held a 3-minute silence in his memory before the coffin was driven to the church. At the goodbye service, PC Malcolm's eldest daughter Abby read a tribute and then read a poem to her father, having to stop several times to fight back tears. The two youngest daughters, Charlotte and Michelle, sang a song called Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacks, whilst his son Sean read a passage out the Bible in honour of his father. The trial for the murder of PC Malcolm Walker began in November 2001 at Nottingham Crown Court and lasted for 3 weeks. There it was learned that just before PC Walker had been rammed off his bike and killed, Nicholas Walters, known as China, had only been let out of prison and on licence 4 weeks earlier for allegedly driving a car at police on patrol in Winson Green. He was also the prime suspect for another hit and run on a motorcyclist months before PC Malcolm was rammed off his bike and killed. He was also the co-accused 3 years earlier in the 1998 murder of 18-year-old trainee chef Tobias Smith from Erdington, who was killed when he was mowed down by a car that China and a co-accused had been in. Eric Allen, who was the owner of the Peugeot car that was stolen from the Q8 petrol station on Beaches Road, Perry Beaches, was put on the stand to testify. He told the jury his version of events about what happened. Eric said that when he saw his car being driven off, and after giving chase unsuccessfully, he flagged down a passing car and gave chase in that car, but he soon lost sight of the car. Eric said that he was then dropped home, where he called the police. After calling the police, he said that he then rang his own mobile phone that he realised he'd left in his now stolen car, and somebody answered the phone. And Eric asked, "Who's this?" At which point the voice on the other end replied, "Hey Batty boy, what do you want? You and your police friends." The person then hung the phone up. Eric claimed he'd never seen China before and didn't know him. But under cross-examination by QC Mr. David Krigman, Eric Allen was forced to admit that he had been in a relationship with Nicholas, aka China's mother, Maureen, 4 years earlier, and had been in recent contact with her. He also admitted that he was the alleged father of China's sister, who his mother had given birth to. When asked why he hadn't mentioned any of this to the police, Eric said that he had told the police about his relationship with the murder suspect's mother, but he'd only done so 2 months after identifying Nicholas Walters as the driver of his stolen Peugeot car in the ID parade. Eric Allen told the courts that despite being in a relationship with China's mother and allegedly having a child with her, he had never ever seen or met China before. Nicholas Walters, aka China, denied murder, but on Monday the 2nd of December 2002, the jury found him guilty and sentenced him to life in prison with a minimum of 18 years. Judge Justice Hunt said, "You deliberately went after him. You were determined to get him. Using that stolen car as a weapon, you deliberately drove into the rear of his motorcycle and knocked him into a bollard where he met his death." His co-defendants, Emmanuel Ebanks and 21-year-old Mektil Naphtali, who were also in the car as it was being driven, were both given 18 months in prison. After the verdict, PC Malcolm Walker's wife, Helen Walker, said, "I hope life means life. What really makes me angry is he is going to be fed and watered whilst in prison. He has shown absolutely no remorse at all. There were things the jury didn't see. When he came out, he would stare at us, and at one point, he poked his tongue out at us." On Thursday, the 3rd of July, 2003, a permanent memorial was put up in PC Malcolm Walker's honour. It was unveiled on Birchfield Road in Perry Barr, on the spot where he lost his life. Nicholas Walters, known as China, appealed his conviction on the 15th of March 2004, just over a year after being convicted, on the grounds that the secret tapes used to secretly record his conversations whilst in prison were illegal. The secret tapes had been recorded whilst he had been on remand in Winson Green Prison, and the secret recordings, known as intrusive surveillance, were allowed under the Regulation of Investigatory Powers of 2000. It was said that this was the first time that West Midlands Police had used these powers to secretly record a prisoner. But the police had apparently not gone through the correct channels or followed procedures in order to obtain these recordings. The appeal was dismissed. Throughout the years, Nicholas Walters, aka China, has had a few problems whilst incarcerated. Just a year into his life sentence, in 2003, China stabbed a rival gang member whilst in HMP Larton. On the 11th of September 2019, 16 years after this incident and 17 years after being convicted, Nicholas Walters, who was now in top security A category prison, Frankland Prison in Durham, was found in his cell with a ligature around his neck. When guards rushed in to save him and take the ligature from around his neck, Nicholas, known as China, struggled with officers, punched and slapped them whilst threatening to bite their faces off. When told he'd be put in restraints, Nicholas was said to have bitten one of the officers, so was taken to the ground. Sources say that he bragged about the incident afterwards. He was then transferred to Wakefield Prison in West Yorkshire, which has been dubbed as Monster Mansion by the press, as it has housed some of the most serious and highly dangerous offenders of all time, and has been labelled by inmates as hell. During his time there, Nicholas, also known as China, assaulted 4 prison officers on 5 separate occasions. In April 2020, China spat in the face of an officer who claimed that he had come into China's cell to give him some paperwork. And after spitting in the officer's face, China was alleged to have then said, "I told you I would get you." Almost a month later, on the 18th of May 2020, it's not stated why, but China was alleged to have been shouting verbal abuse at 2 prison officers, so his cell door was shut. Even though he'd been shot into his cell, another prison officer went into China's prison cell, claiming that he was trying to defuse the situation. He also ended up getting spat on in his face and on his right shoulder. The next day, in the exercise yard, it's alleged that China spat on another officer, and whilst being taken to his cell, China spat at the officer again just before the cell door was closed. In another incident, the prison governor refused to let China receive his £10 phone credit, so China called him a fucking white racist bastard. For all these incidents, China was charged with 6 counts of common assault on an emergency worker, where he pled guilty. On the 3rd of August 2020, he appeared in court via video link from Wakefield Prison, where he interrupted the proceedings several times and told the judge that going on trial would be a waste of taxpayers' money, as he was already on a life sentence. When the prosecutor mentioned the alleged racial comment, China denied it, saying, "Where are you getting that information from?" Judge Tom Bayliss sentenced him to 2.5 years added onto his life sentence, 5 months extra time for each spitting assault, totaling an extra 30 months. China denied ever biting the police officer, and even though the officer claimed that China had bit him, there were no teeth marks on his skin. The officer claimed that he was bruised instead. Upon sentencing him, the judge told him, "Whatever provocation you perceive, it does not justify you spitting at officers." Nicholas Walters, also known as China, was allegedly diagnosed with severe personality disorder, possible brain damage, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder. In the year 2020, Nicholas Walters, also known as China, sued the Ministry of Justice for £40,000 under Articles 2 and 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, the right to life and the right not to be exposed to inhumane treatment, after being put in isolation for an extended amount of time. Helen Walker, PC Malcolm Walker's widow, expressed anger at this, saying, "It's an absolute joke. He took my husband's life, so what rights has he got? He's supposed to have got a life sentence. I was annoyed he didn't even get the maximum of 25 years. It's his problem he's staying in prison. The longer he stays, the better." The Ministry of Justice eventually settled the claim out of court without liability and paid Nicholas Walters an undisclosed sum. Also in 2020, China had reached his 18-year minimum tariff and applied for parole, but his early release was rejected, with the parole board saying, "His behaviour has been problematic and concerns still remain." He himself recognised that he was not ready for progression or release. 3 years after being turned down for parole, China appealed again, but the 3-panel board refused his parole again and also rejected his bid to be moved to an open prison. He is eligible to apply for parole again in 2025, this year.
Yes, I've got my torches, I got my trainers, I live good, I got OCD. I'm a real OG in it. Yeah. But right now, going way back in the day, I hear all the bullshit what's on the roadside now, and one man needs to check yourselves before you wreck yourself, innit? Because if you bust up, you need to get on the craft. You clap 2 boxes or something, bro. In Babylon got what me out of jail. Yeah. My time's been hard, where they're running through my cell with riot shoes and bring me to the block and cutting my clothes off me and leaving me in a naked cell with just a bowl and kicking off my door, giving me veg and salad like I'm a fucking vegan. This thing has been hard and strong. Yeah, I had to be strong, headstrong to do this shit. Yeah. Boom. I have to get by and try to do what I'm doing. Yeah. But everyone keeps stating, why are you out of jail yet? Why are you still a KA prisoner? There's only 6 men in England charged with the offence what I'm in jail for murder. But all these other men who are like, battling poverty and all this, I think it hurts me to hear people say that, yeah? Because they don't know what they've got, yeah? Out there, you've got everything, you've got the world, yeah? I'm locked down in the pen. I don't know what to do at times, but at the same time, I have to keep my head above water, yeah? I'm a realist, and you know what? I can go on and on forever about this, yeah? It's hard, it's painful, yeah? Most men are out there claiming that they're bad, but they weren't even about when I was on the road, yeah? But certain men are clowns. No youths weren't even born when I was on road, but they're claiming that they're bad. But I'm not going to badmouth all them little youths out there because everyone has to live and learn in it and live life. But yo, furthermore, it's like, what do I do? Yeah, I'm in the corner, but everyone wants to just moan at me and say I'm in jail. I can't even explain myself properly in what's going on. It's just pure politics. If one man can't grasp and stay and dodge the Babylon, you need to go to college or university and do something, innit? Yeah. I understand the man them out there are trying to be legal and getting used to this legal lifestyle. Yeah. My brethren said to me the other day, my homie, yeah, like my big brother is, he says, yo, you should do your business studies and all that. I'm not doing no business studies, yeah, because I'm not allowed to come off the wing, because I got PTSD, yeah. I'm on the wing, do what I have to do, yeah. When I come road, I just want to live life to the fullest. I've been on the ends from the age of 13. What do I do? Yeah. You can't come to jail and do the bird what I've done, yeah. I shout out to all the real men. I'm just pissed off with the predicament I'm in, and if only I could ever see how these police are treating me in the system, then you'd be like, we know what's going on in it. I talked to my dog yesterday. He said, I know exactly what's happening with you. So I don't want to hear this bullshit of luxury of pussy. Yeah? Just stop thinking that I'm not trying to progress. And I am. I'm being on this charge in jail. It's hard work.